Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast. This is episode 176, part 2. For those that are just tuning in back in live, we did reset everything. Hopefully we have great connection and you guys can see our pretty faces. And the you're already shaking your head now. You got a hat on. They can't see most of it anyways.
That's good. You don't want to. Hey, look, if I'd have known growing a beard would make you look better, I wouldn't have done what I did for 30 years where you had to shave all the time.
You were in the military.
I know.
Yeah, he wouldn't have done that. That's what he said.
This would have helped me out a lot in life.
Wow. I think you all right. We'll find out here in part 2 here, guys. If you guys are just tuning in on the audio or you're just tuning in on the live right now on Facebook or YouTube, check back on part 1. Actually might do this more often when we split up the videos and just hopefully we see a count instead of going for the greater grand total. This is more honest, but we reviewed these 3 Boys bourbon. We had 3 bottles that Sean Anderson brought. If you guys are part of the community, his name on Facebook is Ian Sean Anderson. He's a big supporter of the podcast. He's a Patreon member, so we really appreciate it. He brought these bottles in. We had 3 different bottles, 2 of the barrel picks of the bourbon and 1 of the rye. And we reviewed those along with the Partagas Heritage, which came out in 2017, to my recollection. And it's a great cigar, and we reviewed both of those. So thank you, Tinder Box at Easton, for the Partagas Heritage. Guys, check it out. 15% off. That's 15% off between now and the next podcast on Wednesday. And you guys can get that either in the store, or if you need to call, order 5 at least, and we can ship them out as supplies last. Also, Altadis USA, we're going to be lighting up a Reserva Real Nicaragua from Romeo Julieta. We've got a storm coming in, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so thank you, Altadis USA, Josh Bentley, and we'll hope to get him on the podcast again here soon with some new products that they have coming out after the trade show in our industry. Cigar Company, the golds are on their way, and the silvers are available from Eric Espinosa. The golds are from Placencia, but the silvers are available. I've got one of those around as well, a bit fuller bodied, a little more pepper to it. That might have gone well with Barrel 3 and
Probably would
the rye. Bet you with that pepper.
Yeah, I like them BS cigars you sent me.
Good. And then also, like I mentioned, Sean Anderson's part of it, as well as many of you, the patreon.com/bourbonbs podcast. We are still working on, I'm getting the designs of the t-shirts to the new printer, hopefully, that you guys can actually go on and do print by order. So if you do that, we'll honor all of these things that we had on the patreon.com/bourbonbs podcast. Depending on the $5, $10, $25 tiers, then I will just order it and send it to you is the plan. So bear with me. You guys have been great through the last year or so with that. But
is that the Jack's guy?
Yeah,
from
Bourbon and Blondes. Yeah,
I watched their podcast there
with
a couple
him
days ago when they did that.
Yeah, he's great. I talked to him on the phone.
Pretty wild.
He's just
I
like
went crazy about the Uncle Jim's vasectomy shirt that they went over to start with to explain the idea, but it came out to be a pretty good shirt about strong women drink strong bourbon.
Yes.
That was pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, that's good. Appreciate that shout out. So yeah, we'll get more information on that. Hopefully we can make it work out. But in the meantime, if you guys want to support us, it definitely helps us out with some of this technology that we're still struggling with at times. So you guys are amazing. Share, like, review, all that good stuff as well. Right now, share the live video so we can get more people involved in the conversation. I'm going to do the same again on part 2 as we get into the conversation. We have Sean Anderson here. I asked him today, actually, I said, what kind of ideas do you have for a topic of part 2? You've listened to the show for a long time, and he rattled off several. And the one we kind of went with was better be good than lucky. And it's kind of interesting because all the other ones, and I've got them here on cue here, so we can always go to some of the other ideas that you had that kind of are all just like the podcast. That's the way it is on this show. You know, it's like we've done this now 176 episodes. We've done life topics on all of them, and it all kind of ties in because that's how life is. So
yeah, it's not easy and it ain't fair.
It's not easy and ain't fair. Which bottle are we drinking out of here? I'm gonna pour one.
3.
I'm drinking out of the middle one. Unless them are y'all's, you can drink them if you like.
I'll drink out of this one.
Drink whatever.
Or you can drink out of whatever. You drink out of the rye. You like that rye too before you don't have it again.
Yeah, because I finished the bottle I had for myself.
Well, there you go. Well, you got some right here.
So I'd already decided that I'd like the rye, but
yeah. All right, so Sean, and before I go into some of your topics, other than what we chose, better to be good than lucky. Kind of give us an overview in fact, this is your time. Kind of give us a little bit first, why the topic, and then also kind of where it comes from in your life.
Well,
and I appreciate you sharing.
It's kind of odd because boy, I have been lucky. I'm just a lucky guy. And that's, all of it. Relationships that are even past relationships, lucky to have them. Can't say nothing bad about them. Even if I wanted to.
Right.
No, they were great. Just so happened at points in my life that just, made it too difficult. So I don't know. I tried to, especially my sons, but all my children, I try to teach them, to learn to love the process. Because if you love the process, there's more success comes out of the process than getting lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are lucky. I could have been born a Trump or a Kennedy or something, but I wasn't. So and they wasn't. So they had to work at it. But I don't know. I spent a little over 30 years wearing a uniform for a living.
What branch were you in?
Well, I spent about 22 years in the Army,
mm-hmm.
and then 10 years in law enforcement.
Police.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I said, and not all luck is good. I was just one of them lucky guys that in 22 years I deployed a lot. Now again, I'm from a little podunk town in Virginia where the stop signs say "whoa."
Whoa.
But I have, like I was talking to Nate before.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in 81 or 82 countries. I forget, something like that. I've been on every continent and subcontinent on the planet minus Antarctica. If I could put my feet on Antarctica, I will have walked on every major landmass on the planet.
Is that a goal?
Well, it's, I don't know if it's a goal, but when you think about it, you're like, damn, how did I do that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
From a podunk town.
Out of those 80 countries, there's about 20 or so of them that, I'd rather not go back to. They weren't so much my choice. And out of the rest, there's some that I would visit again tomorrow, and there's others that I would have to think about it before I'd go back.
Yeah.
But it's like I told Nate, maybe I just didn't have enough time in them to do what I wanted. But I was in I was hit by an IED.
Where was this?
In Afghanistan. TC in a convoy, which just basically means I was the convoy commander.
That's what TC stands for?
Track commander.
Track commander. That's what it means.
Yeah, but we just say TC. It's just TC for everybody. I was a light guy my whole life. I was never mech, so them terms kind of foreign to me.
Okay.
Never. That wasn't my goal when I joined. Never had any desire to go to like all them hula schools that I wound up going to. It's just one of them things you kind of fall back into.
Okay.
And like I say, once you raise your hand and volunteer, quitting wasn't an option. Now failing would have been different, I suppose, if I'd have failed, but just quitting wasn't an option. My granddaddy would come up out the grave and get me if I quit. So anyway, out of that Humvee, I'm the only one breathing.
There's 6 of you or 5 of you?
5 of us.
Okay.
So I went through a period where I had a lot of guilt.
Mm-hmm.
It's my fault that it happened.
Do you believe that?
I would blame it on the guy that set the IED.
Well, you think, but now,
for those that don't know, so when you say you were the TC, you're the guy. You're the guy telling the driver.
What we would do, I don't know what every unit did, but what we did is we tried to go different routes all the time, and so you could, there you could drive like a dozen different ways to get in the same spot, and so you didn't want to go the same way every time, and so everybody subconsciously will develop a pattern. So they tell you not, don't pick. Some guys would flip quarters. I just rolled dice, and one day even was left and odd was right, another day I'd flip that. And so whatever turn was coming, I'd roll the dice, whatever it said. When we got there, I'd be like, go right.
Ray's asking you to sit forward so we can hear you a little bit.
Oh, so, the logical side of my brain would tell me all the time. And I tell people all the time, the past is the past. You can't change it. You can't, there's nothing you can do about it. And dwelling on it certainly doesn't help you none, because that just leads to a world of demons. So, I was pretty miserable for quite a while.
What year was this? When it happened?
That one?
Yeah.
That would have been 02, 03, somewhere in that ballpark.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, somewhere early in there.
How long had you been in the service at that point?
I reported to Harmony Church, Fort Benning in 1987, October of 87.
Okay, so you'd been in for 15 years plus.
Give or take.
All right.
Okay.
And so, and in other deployments, it wasn't the first time I'd been hurt, but, first time kind of that at that level, I lost some of the muscle in one leg and wound up with some nerve damage in my back and my neck, and I had both shoulders reconstructed. Was
that all from that incident?
Yeah, basically. But now some of it, is a build up to it, and then that
injury
exacerbates it.
So you survived, but you obviously were injured.
Right. And so I went through some surgeries there and some rehab and a rehab assignment back on Fort Benning, which wasn't real great. And so, like I say, the doctors found some nerve damage and terminated my status. Said I couldn't, jump out of planes anymore or anything like that because, my head and the Kevlar couldn't snap. Something inside
you'd be at risk, basically.
Yeah, running a risk of paralysis. Because, like, if I sneeze now, if I don't tighten my chest and shoulders, if it sneaks up on me, I get this. My pecs are on fire. My arms go numb. First time it happened, I curled up on the ground. I thought I was having a heart attack, but it's really just that impact on the nerves in my spinal cord in my neck when my head snaps.
Wow.
So there was that, and then like I say, I kind of went past that, and instead of changing jobs, I basically told the Army F off. I just turned in my paperwork and retired. But luckily I was past 20 years, so they couldn't put me out.
Yeah.
So then I went to work at the other job, and as you get older,
it's law enforcement.
Yeah.
You went straight into that.
Well, no, actually, of all crazy things, I was a project manager for Westinghouse refueling nuclear plants.
Okay.
For a year.
Okay.
But my wife at the time hated living in Pennsylvania, and my third time I went out to a plant to work, she was so bent out of shape. I said, well, okay, we'll find you a job in Georgia, and I'll quit and come back. We'll go to Georgia. I'll go to work.
Mm-hmm.
So she called me 2 days later and said she had a teaching job in a county there in Georgia. And so I quit, went back to Georgia, and like 2 months later got hired. But luckily I got hired at a place that I gave up some of my salary to counter my military time. So 10 years was like 30.
Okay.
But the last year, boy, it was difficult. I mean, the body just wasn't, chasing people down and all that stuff, and was just, becoming too painful.
Yeah.
So the day I was eligible to retire, I retired. And then probably within a few months of that, which is crazy because now after I retired, I play golf 6 days a week.
How old were you when you retired from law enforcement? Just so that way we have a timeline.
See, I'm 53 now. I'd have been 40. Let's see, my daughter's 4. I'd have been 47 or 48.
Okay.
47, 48 when you retired. All right.
Yeah. Something like that.
You played golf 6 days a week, so you thought that's what you do in retirement.
And,
the
wife I had at the time didn't really like that.
Because you're always out of the house, even though you're retired. Is that?
Oh, well, okay. So this is my morning routine. Every morning I got up, helped her get out the door, took my stepdaughter to school,
Yeah.
went to the golf course, play golf, picked up my stepdaughter from school, went home, made dinner. So I was a little shocked that she was upset with it. But
She was
anyway,
working at the time still. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Okay.
But I suppose it didn't help that I worked in Athens, where the University of Georgia is, so college
Yeah.
town. So all the
Beer car girls.
we're all college girls, yeah. And so she'd be mad because she'd be like, "How much money did you give him today?" I'm like, "What's it matter?"
Wow.
So
there,
bills
there
are
are some
paid.
issues.
Yeah, bills are paid. So what's it matter?
Okay.
But I've always, I don't know. I've always been like that. As long as the bills are paid, it's like that Michael Jordan thing. His bills are paid. Are you really going to knock the man for betting $100 on a golf game?
Yeah.
He's got it to do.
Well,
His family ain't suffering, so who cares?
Yeah.
It's his stuff. Who cares? So anyway, right about then, we started having some trouble. Split for a while. Tried to reconcile.
This is all while you're down in Georgia still.
Yeah, still in
Okay.
Georgia. But in the middle of the reconciliation, like I told you, in a 6-week period, my grandmother died.
You didn't tell them out there. You told us.
Okay. Well, my grandmother passed away.
This is all during the time you're separated, but you're trying to reconcile.
Well, after we had tried to reconcile, it was in the process of the reconciliation. My
Okay.
grandmother died. My dog died. Then my son died.
How old was your son?
He was 25. So then we decided to call it quits. And then my granddaughter passed away.
Jeez.
When you called it quits, was it because of just the emotional state of affairs that you were going through, or
yeah, it's it's like I said,
blame game, like what was going on here?
I blamed everybody. I hated the world.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
asking.
it's probably my fault. I was a miserable bastard to be around. I just like I said, luckily my parents were young when I was born, so they're still living. My daddy's only 16 years older than me. My mother's my mother's only 18 years older than me. And they've been together for 54 years, married for 52 and a half.
Wow. Both still living.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is but my mom would tell you I was the only one that was planned so that they could stay together. And even after I was born, my granddaddy, her father wouldn't let him get married till he knew I was going to live. So I was about 6-7 months old before they got married.
Yeah.
Officially.
Yeah.
Now my mom would tell you they were married before that, but
now everyone
that's
the
the story.
World knows the difference.
Yeah. Well, they were biblically married.
That's one way to say it. Yeah.
Hey, well, it just says whoever you know.
Yep.
That's it. There wasn't no ring and ceremony.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was just a miserable bastard.
Why?
Well, again.
I mean, obviously you got a lot built up, emotions and you keep referring to demons.
Right. Whatever you want to call them. I just called them demons. When you do, like I say, when you do what I did, the problem is your morals get shifted.
How so?
Well, okay. So let's just take shooting somebody. Normally you would be like, oh, I would be opposed to that unless it was absolutely necessary. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Most people would, and even then they'd have some.
It stays with you.
Yeah, and so but you do 58 months of deployment, then suddenly that's really not much no different than picking up this glass and drinking it, which is a horrible thing to say, but that's that's basically what it's like. It's just
in the current,
it's just what you had to do.
Right?
You've become numb to that feeling, kind of.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good.
Yep.
All right.
And you become acutely aware of your and everybody else's mortality.
Yeah.
And so it just creates this thing in your head that when it's not bad, is completely moronic and illogical. And but it shows up every night, same time, and I was just any little thing could set me off,
Yeah.
I'm a very well, I was not so much anymore, but everything had a place. It was supposed to be in its place. The keys went in one place. Everything got laid in the same place. And some of that was for my own edification, simply because, then I knew where it was at. I didn't have to go looking for it. So, you put the keys in the wrong place and, I'm through the roof, which is completely irrational.
You know that now. You knew it before.
I knew it when it was happening. But
Why
you
did
couldn't
that
do
set
nothing
you off?
about it. I have no idea.
Okay.
That part I couldn't explain to you.
Yeah.
So which
Ray's
is what
out there asking like why did I ask why? It's like because
I can't tell you why. We just
when
do
I asked
it.
you why we were like
Yeah.
that, it's like literally
Yeah. Well,
it's just,
people that ain't done this.
Yeah, that's what I
tell
wanna
folks
know,
all the
and
time.
I think that's it.
If you ain't walked in my boots, there's no, and my words ain't gonna explain it to you. Ain't gonna make any sense. Not really.
Your words
No one
just
was in
scratch the surface.
No one was in your
Yeah.
head.
So I just after that 6-week period, especially with, my grandmother, I could get it. She was old. She had lived a good life. That's
Right,
fine.
right.
I just thought the timing of it, was again, here's that whole thing. Life ain't easy. It ain't fair. I don't know why I thought it, should be fair. I guess I thought that I had given enough.
You thought that life in general owed you a little bit?
Sure. Why not?
How much more can happen?
Yeah. What else do you want me to take to make this good?
I got it.
What else do you want me to take to be the rainbow?
Given my pound of flesh, what else more do you want?
All right.
And then my dog happening just was, bad. But she was old, 16 and a half, 17, was a rhymer.
That's super old.
I know. So, and you understand the course of life. So those two might not have been so bad. But then, like I say, me and the wife at the time, like you quit. So the family was gone.
Yeah.
And then, but my son and my granddaughter.
Yeah.
Them are the two that just didn't.
Makes you ask questions.
I couldn't get any sense out of those. Period.
The accidents? I mean, I don't want to pry too much.
No,
were the accidents, or is just like
my son, and again, so you'd have to know something about me. Like I said, I've never had a hangover.
Yeah.
I can drink or I cannot. I went through bouts where I've drank this bottle every night.
Yeah.
Every night. Maybe this bottle and a piece of that bottle.
Yeah.
Every night.
Yeah.
Never been sick, never had a hangover, never had a problem, never been late for work, nothing. My son, my oldest son, I tried to get his mother to send him to me when he was 14. He started having a problem about 14.
With drinking?
Yeah.
Substance.
It was basically when his grandfather, her dad, died.
Okay.
She wouldn't send him to me. So, I'd send, like, are you watching what's going on? Oh, he's fine. He's not doing nothing. I'm like, he's high as a kite.
Yeah.
And so somebody sold him some weed laced with fentanyl.
Oh.
Okay.
So it was kind of an accidental overdose.
I got you.
Again,
condolences, man.
So, that one pissed me off. My granddaughter was born with what they told us was, I think it was a Weems tumor, which was like a very rare cancer for kids, but they survive it. They just take their kidney out. The other one metastasizes, takes care of them.
Okay.
So she was going to have her kidney removed, no problem.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, they got it wrong. So they took her kidney out, tumor came back. Took that out, tumor came back. So after 3 or 4 surgeries, it came back, but she was too weak for surgery. So while they had her in the hospital, waiting for her to get strong enough to do it again, that was all her little body could take.
How old was she?
She wasn't 2.
Man.
And that's the one that really threw me for a curve, because it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, you're at wit's end of the rope, whatever you want to call it. I mean, like you're beat up at that point.
Like that experience in and of itself would have been a hard one to get through. And then just compounded on top.
If they're not gonna have, if they're not gonna be able to grow up and be something, then why put them on the earth?
There's
but
your boy Ray.
I'd already decided that, and again, whatever you believe is fine. Believe what you like. But some of those countries I've been in made me question this whole higher power concept, because what I have seen people do to other people, or what people do to survive, hell, it's horrifying. There's just no other way to describe it. It's just horrifying.
True colors really show sometimes.
And if that's the plan, because that's the thing that got me. Everybody kept telling me, well, you know, God has a plan. God has a plan. God has a plan. God has a plan.
You were still a man of faith at the time, right?
Well, kind of. You know, the world had sort of quartered a little, but by the time that happened, all that was out the door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, again, if that's his plan, he can just with everybody else. I don't really care, because, you know, and they're like, oh, well, you don't want to say that because you'll burn in hell. I'm like, well, I'm already in hell. So what's
much worse can it
what's
get,
the difference?
right?
Yeah. What's going to be worse?
Yeah.
And so, you know, and again, my saving grace was, again, I could see why people would want to quit living. I'm saying.
I got you.
And, you know, I'd be lying if I said, you know, there was not a lot of nights that I just wish I'd go to sleep and not wake up. But I can't do it because I can't do that to my mother or my family.
That's what you said. I like that.
So, you know, and so I was alone for, I don't know, almost a year, not quite a year before I started dating my current wife. And I just got to the point where I realized.
Did you have your kids around you at all? Any of the
kids? Then? No, they were mostly grown then.
Okay. So you're by yourself.
You had said before the podcast, like, well, right now the range of your kids go from 34 to 4.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I assume the 4-year-old's with your current wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's my youngest daughter. She's my miracle surprise, because after my injuries, they kept telling me I wouldn't have any more kids, which was fine by me because I'd already had 3.
Sensing you're stubborn.
Yeah, apparently something.
In so many ways.
Or maybe it's just the current wife's just too fertile. I don't know.
Clearly a good woman that can put up with you.
They've all been good women to put up with me for any amount of time. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, I'm learning so much tonight.
So I don't know. I was alone for about a month. Then I rescued 3 cats, which I'm not a cat person. I'm a dog person. But I was taking a walk around the lake I live on now in Tennessee, and this dude was tossing kittens in the lake.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know.
You are a magnet.
Apparently. And so, you know, I only ever had one rule about animals. If I'm going to eat it, or if it's about to hurt somebody, it's fair game. Other than that, let it live its life and you live yours.
Fair enough.
So I did the one thing that I hadn't done in a long time. I butted into somebody else's business. So by the time I stopped him, there was these 3 kittens in the thing, and they were so messed up the shelter wouldn't take them. And so then my mom is a cat person, and so she was like, well, you got to do this, you got to do that. So here we nursed these 3 kittens. I took them down, got them fixed, got them the shots, dewormed, whatever. And so I was about to get rid of them, and my mom and my niece shamed me into holding on to them for a while. And that's about the time me and my current wife got serious, talked about moving in. I said, well, if you're going to move in, she had a son. I'm like, we'll get rid of the cat so they can't scratch them. She's like, no, the cats stay.
How old was the son?
He'll be 9.
At the time.
Let's see. So
again, timeline here.
5.
Okay.
So it was me and these 3 cats for a while, and you know, I don't sleep a lot. I still don't sleep a lot. Simply because, you know, it's when you close your eyes, you know what's waiting on you, so you just don't want to do it.
Explain that.
Well, again, you know, you wind up being in touch with your mortality, and then, you know, I got to the point where I felt like, even though it was a job, right, I was going to have to pay for all the transgressions that I had made. Because, you know, I did grow up in the church, and, you know, one of the biggies is that thou shalt not kill.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just, you get to this point where you feel like, well, hell, you've done broke all the rules that are breakable, and you broke most of the Big Ten. So
I mean, come on.
So there's really no hope for it. And
you read the whole book. There's a lot
well,
of killing
yeah,
going on.
I know, but they don't teach you the Old Testament as much as we do the New Testament.
The New Testament was like the greatest hits. Like that was
the Old Testament.
My stepdad was a pastor, but he was still a big proponent of the Old Testament. Yes, there was a lot of stuff that happened.
Can you
finish
that thought? I want to, but there's a question from the audience there.
It was that whole thing about God had a sense of right or wrong, and if you were wrong, then he'd just get rid of all of you and salt your fields, and that'd be the end of you. Then he had a son, and he mellowed out, so he didn't turn the other cheek, sort of thing. So,
like a lot of parents.
It's like which one, right? Which one do you adhere to? And so I never really knew the Old Testament quite as much. So a
lot of fire and brimstone back then.
Yeah, and you got to think.
Don't forget, even in the New Testament, God killed 2 people just because they lied. So, go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, you just you wind up thinking about all the people that you've impacted negatively.
Mm-hmm.
And hell, I don't know them. I don't know none of these people's families. But that's still somebody's husband, father, son.
Yeah.
And so and then, like I said, when I was blown up, the one kid up there, I don't think he was 20, 21, maybe. If
in
that.
The same vehicle?
Yeah, if that. He was 11 or 13 days away from going home to, hold his kid that was born while we were deployed. So he had never seen his kid.
Yeah.
And so it's just, should have been me, not him.
So you got this guilt.
Well, yeah, that's what they call it. And so, they send you to all these things, and they do all this stuff like what do they call it? Cognitive reconstruction therapy or some shit. CRT, not critical race therapy. Theory, but basically what they wanted me to do was like write what happened, but start it out the way it really happened and end it the way it really happened, but in the middle change it, and you're supposed to feel your brain,
feel good.
So instead of getting blown up and all this other stuff, I guess I was supposed to find some golf course or something with like a bunch of beautiful cart girls, and the golf was free, and
which you
yabba,
did.
Yabba. So they have you write this stuff, and all they did was make you think about it more, which didn't help.
Yeah.
So I don't know. One night it just sort of came to me. I got tired of fighting it. Or maybe that's it. Maybe I just got tired of fighting it. And I just sat there and said, okay, so whatever thoughts come, they just let them come. Do what they're going to do, make you feel however they're going to make you feel.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow the sun comes up, and that's another day. You gotta live it.
You're talking about?
Yeah.
The demons you're talking about.
So, I spent years fighting them, and that didn't work. All it did was lead you to a bunch of heartache and pain. So I tried it the other way. I was like, okay, I'll just embrace it. So it's part of what's in me now. It's just going to be there. I don't think it's ever going to go away. Maybe it's not supposed to.
It's not.
But it's just how you process it and think about it. So I have learned to say, I try to tell people all the time, when I go over to these groups and talk, I'm like, look, the hourglass only runs one way. As much as we'd like to flip it over, we can't.
Sit on its side a little bit.
Just
for a while, you know what I mean? Like
you can't.
Let's hang out for a second.
You can't stop the sand from running.
Right.
And you only got so much sand. Or
Finite
whatever analogy
time,
you
man.
want. Some people didn't get that. I'm like, okay, heartbeats. You only get so many heartbeats, and then it's going to stop.
Yeah.
This is only one ride, right? So, do you want to go to Six Flags and the big roller coaster be closed and you not get to ride it, or you be too scared to ride it if it's open?
Take the chances.
Life is the same way. So I just got to the point where I said, okay, this is what it is. Make the best out of it and go on. Now I have to say my youngest daughter has helped quite a bit. And mostly that's just the process of watching her discover the world with them new innocent eyes. Restores a little bit of your faith. Though, like I was telling Nate, I really hope she turns out to be gay, because I hope she don't have to deal with none of the men that are growing up today, because I just don't understand them. They don't know shit from Shinola.
That is a very interesting perspective.
Yeah, they don't know shit from Shinola. And I don't know what people are teaching them.
Oddly enough, I'm of the opinion that the girls don't either. It's just a generation.
Well, and and some of it might be their fault because they're letting them do it. But I don't know what the problem is. But it's just
their parents. Their parents. Well, and their parents are the millennials,
right? But that's and again, it's a product of America's success. So you want your kids to have more. That's what I did, right? With the other ones, that's what happened with my son. And so I finally realized that life, like I told you, life is not easy and it's not fair. And if I raise you in an environment that makes it easy and fair, when I launch you into the world, which is going to happen, they all launch into the world, you're going to get out there and realize that in life there's some no's.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
And that's why they're medicated and living at home and suffering the way they're suffering, because they've not been prepared at home.
Yeah.
For what life is going to throw at them. And trust me,
not everyone.
Well,
a lot.
A good portion of them.
The media will lead you to believe the other way.
And I've taken a lot of gut punches from life.
More than most, it sounds like.
Well, see, I don't know. I've got to the point now.
So
where
it's
even
more
blown
than
up.
Most. I'll just tell you that
okay,
right now,
well,
yeah.
it's just like even blown up. I've got to the point now where what? I used to be. I couldn't. Like, why the hell were we in Afghanistan? We should have finished that the first time when we helped them throw the Russians out.
Right.
If we'd have spent the money, the problem is there's no national identity there. I don't care what you do, what anybody says. There's just the tribes, and that's what they believe. So until you get them an infrastructure in a school system where they feel like they're Afghanis and not part of whatever tribe they're part of,
yeah,
you're not going to fix that place.
You don't want to change it. You want to make it more authentic, right? You know what I mean? It's just like today. You want to make sure that it's like with the linear history you're talking about. I've talked about that. It's a linear history, whether it's your personal life or if it's just life in general or societies, right? It's the fact that you can't just go in there and just like turn a switch and all of a sudden everything's cool. It's like, no, you're not trying to fix. I'm of the opinion, I don't know what you think, Sean. I'm of the opinion that you're not trying to fix necessarily this generation.
No. Because this generation is, you ain't
no matter what it is. I'm not talking about just today, but it's like 20 years ago, 20 years from now, you have to create that. You have to embrace exactly.
It's a long haul on the end game.
Children type of a thing,
right?
And America's history, the U.S. history will show you that as well.
Yeah, well, that's like I try to tell people, and they're talking about it. America is like a kid. This is a young country.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, growing up, she made some mistakes.
Yeah.
But the question is she continuing to make the same mistake? No. And and again, for all of America's problems, all the places I've been, trust me, if you like to be able to have your own views, your own opinion, voice those and live your life the way you want, there's no place else on this planet you'd rather live than America. There's just not.
So I share that opinion as well. I want to go back to, if I could, what I got from this, and I've been this. Thank you. It's very impactful. Very, just absolutely. You're generous with the bottles. You're also very generous with this history of your life, the story of your life. I mean, it's so. A lot of consistencies in you as a person of what I know right now, right? You know what I mean? Like you were talking about, when you're on the golf course and, your ex-wife or whatever saying, how much did you spend today and all that stuff. Same thing with this. You bring in these bottles. And if you guys listen to part one, the value, monetary value of the bottles, it's like you came in here with this in the back of your mind. It's like, which one do you like best? That's yours.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I was going. Well, technically, I was going to leave all 3, but the ones you like best is yours. You can do it. If you don't want it drunk, you can set it down off the side and keep it for later. But I mean, I wouldn't do that. But
some days just get drunk.
I'm just saying.
Some of us have to get home.
What I want to say is, and I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this. Is when you went into that, what was it? You said what was the abbreviation for the counseling?
CRT.
Cognitive reconstruction therapy.
Cognitive reconstructive therapy.
Yeah.
You looked at it, right? So you have this third party that's trying to make you embrace it, right, and try to change it all, and then and that didn't work for you because it was
no.
And this is just, if I may, it's this effort trying to push it upon you. So now you have a third party saying you need to really face these demons that you're talking about, right, and try to rationalize, justify, or change it, as you said. But what really was your success, because everyone's different. We talk about
that's
like
true
personality.
Too. I don't know that it'll work for everybody.
But the point is I appreciate the effort of those therapists, right? Because the goal is to
I don't knock them for it, but I just think they were doing it the wrong way, because their idea was to it would get rid of the demons.
Right. But what I saw, and this is, bear with me for a second here, is that what you did was, in the end, you sat there and did it on your own, and you embraced it. No, you said that you said that you sat there and you let all that happen, and you're like, all right, so now I got to move forward. I can't change the past, right?
Yeah. And
I'm not saying that their technique is great for anyone, or it's certainly not for everyone, but for the overall effort, what I learned from that, just listening to you speak, is that someone else tried to do it, and you had to take it upon yourself to really just embrace that your life history and what has happened, and that you looked at it as, this did happen, I can't change it. But it's not about this reconstructing, like this happened and then this happened in the end, and try to change everything. It's like, no, all of it happened and I'm still here.
Yeah.
And I'm choosing to still be here, so I can either be a miserable fuck, right?
Yeah.
And just
live alone
by yourself, and wake up every morning, try not to look in any mirror, because that's just going to trigger you, right? Yep. So you, what I liked about it was the fact that you sat there and you gave yourself the time and attention that you needed to really address that stuff, so that you realize that I can't change that stuff. I can't change the past. But you made a choice that you were going to make this and kind of embrace it as, this is a part of me. So I'm going to use that, all the negative, all that guilt, or I'm sure there was a little bit of hate in that. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
Oh, yeah. I hated myself for a long time.
Well, like I said, I wasn't trying to put words in your mouth, but I'm listening to what you're saying. And that is something that you embraced to an effect, that you used it as this fuel to then decide and choose to be better going forward.
You have to.
Not everyone has to go through everything you went through, but we talk about a lot. You listen to this podcast a lot. You go, you get fired, you get dumped, you lose your house,
right?
You get injured. We had Tom Baker on a while back, that he had this freak dirt bike accident and now he's paralyzed.
Right.
Anyone out there right now, if you go through what Sean's been through, if out of nowhere you get in a car accident and all of a sudden it's like you no longer have use of your legs, you can either shell up or you can battle those demons.
Right.
So that I'm trying to like bring it back to the audience, because we're getting a lot of these comments that it's just it's such an impactful story. But it's like, for everyone out there, you don't have to go through the extremes that you've gone through.
No,
the life lessons are there. I mean, this is just writing on the wall.
If you just listen, as a matter of fact, I would love nobody to go through what I went through.
No.
What the therapy thing what it did for me, and I guess the turning point where I got there was, I always thought, people ask you, like, they used to ask me, like, well, there was two schools of thought. I went in the Army because I couldn't succeed in the civilian world. I wasn't smart enough. But really, I went in the Army because my granddaddy was a World War II vet, and there were some things going on in the late 80s, and then it rolled into the early 90s that I just thought that, I should do. And I thought that, better me than my kids.
Yeah.
Or better me than your kids.
Yeah.
If you had them, right?
Yeah.
So it was like one of those things, like, well, let's fix the world so nobody else has to go through it. And so what the therapy did was make me feel like I had wasted 30 years because it served no purpose at all.
I got you.
Right. And so, if anything, it pulled me down lower. Like I said, I went through a lot of nights that I just wish I'd go to sleep, not wake up.
You feel like they were trying to justify everything?
Well, that, and you do things that you think you're trying to make the world a better place, and then you realize that the world don't want to be a better place. So it just wasted 30 years of my life. I could have been doing something else.
You were trying to fix things,
right? And so that was at the point where I finally got to the point where I said, okay, I said, there's nothing that I can do good for my family feeling like this or being this way. So I just kind of got to let it do its thing. And then when the sun comes up and everybody else is up, that's a new day. It's over.
Yeah.
And be there for them and prepare them the best way I know how, and to help them the best way that I can.
Like you said,
for the next day they got coming.
You can't change the past.
Well, and I think it's part, like, you have to accept, like, what you've gone through, what's happened to you, because you can't deny it, because it happened. You can't change it. What happened. And but what you can do is you can learn from it. You can sit there and say, okay, that is a part of me. Embrace the fact that it is part of me. Now, what can I do? How can I learn from this? How can I not only better myself because of these experiences, but then how can I then pass that along to others? How can I teach others based on what my experiences have been? They don't necessarily have to be something as severe as what you've gone through.
Right.
But you still learn and you pass that knowledge on.
Which is probably why I type so much when y'all are talking. Because, again, I think it's important that you have some sort of community that you can feel like you're a part of. Not that you can, not as a crutch, but just, something to validate, what you've done in your life. So you can tell people, like, hey, maybe think of it this way.
Yeah, when you go through bad times, that you want to know that it's worth it, right? I mean, it's something that when all the things you've gone through, or like to everyone out there, when you go through the shit, right? When you get knocked down or whatever, it's like it's got to be worth something, right?
Yeah, well, it's like that question your lady friend last week brought up. See, only
Ann Dimmick was on from
Ann,
Watershed,
right? So when Ann said, "What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?" That's really. In a nutshell, what changed it for me. My advice would be, not to change it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. It's what happened. And, that's who you are today. And if you changed it, that might not be who you are. And for all the problems, there's no way to know that if you changed it, it would be any better. So if you're trying to make this better, then there's no point in going back and trying to change it, because hell, you might make it worse.
Well, and so it was funny you say that, because that was as we saw, and if you guys listened to the podcast from last week, Nate had a real tough time answering that question, because everything circled back to not meeting his current wife. Right. And so I tried to change or reframe that to 20 years from now. What do you think you'd say to yourself today? Because you still
well,
have something.
Well, that's just that thing that I tell people all the time. Do you want to sit on the porch and talk to your family and your friends and say things that you wish you did? Or do you want to sit on the porch and be able to tell them things that you did do?
So I think that is advice to your current self from 20 years from now is to follow your heart, to get out there, get off your get off the porch and go do something.
Right.
Sometimes.
And like I say, I didn't, the things I did in the Army, I was telling him, I never dreamed about jumping out of planes. That wasn't in the goal. I joined the light infantry. That's what my granddaddy did. That's all I thought I was going to do. But again, the first time after the first Gulf War, life in the Army was great because the Army didn't have no money. So we would come in, do PT, do a little weapons maintenance, and be home by 11 every day for almost a year. I worked about 3 hours a day.
So you were in Desert Storm?
Oh yeah,
right.
And the one in 88 too, but that's all right.
Yeah, yeah. No one talks about that one.
No, it doesn't matter. First time I had to go to a big field training exercise that lasted a long time, I wound up going out to Fort Irwin, California, and I was in the box out there for like 72 days.
Explain that.
That's the training area, right? Yeah. So the Rangers jump in, seize the airfield so planes can land on and start moving off heavy equipment, and their only mission then was to establish a foothold so that heavier units could land, get set, and move out. Okay. So they're designed for 48, 72-hour operations and then be done. So they were packing up going home when I was going out to the box, right? And I'm like, who are them dudes? And they're like, that's the Ranger Battalion. They're going home. So when I got back to Fort Campbell and they restarted the RIP program, I didn't know what the hell a Ranger was. I didn't want to know. When they said anybody wanted to volunteer for RIP, and I'm like, what is that? Well, that's how we decide who we're going to send to Ranger School. All I thought was 73 days in the box, 5 days in the box. Yeah, I'll do that.
Oops.
And then, then they tell you, okay, well, when you pass, you got to go to airborne school too and jump out of planes. Oh, yeah. All right.
You're still thinking the 5 days.
Yeah. Well, no, but then I'm thinking like once you, it's like I told Nate, once I started something, I couldn't quit. Now, felon was an option, I suppose, but quitting was not an option. If I'd have quit, my granddaddy would have come up out of the grave and got me. So I couldn't quit.
Okay.
So it's just one of them things you just sort of fall into it, right?
Yeah.
You don't think about it, really. So
you had those things instilled in you early on. Talk about your granddaddy a lot.
Well, I was taught.
And that's fine. I'm not. That's not a dig. That's not anything. It's just an observation
it's
that you had an influence in your life,
right?
Literally after your grand.
Well, my father too. Now look. So, my dad's dad, my other grandfather, was injured. My dad dropped out of school in the 8th grade and went to work and paid all his family's bills while his 3 older sisters and younger brother finished high school. And then he had me at 16. And all I've ever seen that man do was work.
Yeah. What do you do?
Construction, built houses, and then just concentrated on masonry work, bricked houses.
Okay.
But artistry with brick, right? I won't tell him that, but it's a fact. Made a lot of money and gave every dime he ever made to my mother, who wasted it on me, my brother, and my sister.
Wait. Wasted it how?
Well,
Spoiling you? Or?
Okay, so you guys. Okay, so I grew up on both sides of the coin. I grew up having an outhouse.
Okay.
Right. So in the wintertime, you could pee off the high side of the porch, but if you peed off the low side, you got a whooping because that went under the root cellar.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
50-50.
Chamber pots.
Sure. What was the other side of the coin?
Well, by the time I was in the 5th or 6th grade, my daddy bought his first house. We built the garage in. It had 5 bedrooms. They put a pool in the backyard, and I was the first kid I knew that had an Atari game system.
Yeah.
Right.
2600 or 5200?
What was the first one? Yes. and
That
asteroids.
one button and a
Oh,
joystick.
I had Pong too, but that was back when Pong was on a thing and you set shoulder to shoulder and just turn the knob,
I
right?
don't know if you had a Commodore or whatever.
Yes, a Commodore 64.
That's right.
Yeah, and it was like playing
Here we are.
selected
Here we are.
books.
All right.
So
I'm not as old as you, but I
both
get it.
sides. So that's all he's ever done. So the not quitting thing was like, I was always taught, like, if you take a job, you do the whole job to the best of your ability, and you don't have somebody come do it for you. So, like, even if it's digging a ditch, if it's supposed to be 10 feet long, 3 feet wide, and 3 feet deep, by God, that's what it better be, because you're signing your name to it.
Okay.
Which is their name. And if you're willing to do that shitty, then you're really saying that they're shitty.
Family.
Is the way they taught me. You have to have some professional and personal pride in what you do.
Okay.
And so, so any job you took, you do it to the best of your ability. Period.
I want to get to Sean Wilkinson out here, but real quick, there was a comment that just came through, Sean, and Sean's been wanting to comment. He's part of a live studio audience. I'm going to read this to you because I don't think that's what you're saying. Brian Henson's out here listening. I'll throw it up here, and I'm going to read it to you guys for the audio. If I heard you right, you said your military time was a, quote, waste, end quote. That makes me sad. For what it's worth, I thank you for your service. I wouldn't change my time in service for anything. Cheers, fellas.
Yeah, no. Now, see, okay, so the flip side, when I was talking about I'm just a lucky guy.
He also said, still hosting here a little bit. He said that therapy.
Yeah, that therapy made me feel like I had got to the point where I feel like I had wasted my time because I hadn't really affected any kind of change that I wanted in the world.
I just wanted to clarify. I don't know when Brian Henson actually tuned in, if he's been listening the whole time. If you are, that's great. I mean, that's why I like this. Is that the conversation
my 22 years was great. I went from burning shit with Diesel and JP4 in 90 to laying wreaths with kings and queens on the beach in Normandy in 94.
Okay.
I've been in a music video because of the Army.
What was the music video?
Billy Ray Cyrus, who was an asshole, by the way. And little short, sawed-off guy. So I don't know why Dolly Parton was all excited about him and his jeans, but
it's probably
I didn't really care for him that much.
Hard, right?
Well, I was in Some Gave All.
All right.
But we won't talk about that. I can't believe I told you all that. I don't tell anybody that.
It's probably the whiskey.
It's the whiskey.
But
and a microphone.
So don't
worry, nothing comes out of the garage. No one's listening.
I've had dinner. I had dinner at a Duchess's Chateau that had like an original Louis XIV painting that was priceless that he set for. Like I said, I've been on every continent and subcontinent on the planet minus Antarctica. It wasn't all bad.
It's not a waste.
No. The time itself was not a waste. I just felt like what I wanted to do with it was a waste because I did all that.
Yeah.
And there's still people there doing the same thing I was doing 15 years ago.
You may not have made it the change that you thought you might impact the world with by doing what you did. Because it's still happening.
Right.
Sean?
Yeah. First of all, Sean, I wanted to say thank you for your service. What you've gone through, I can't even imagine, but I still just appreciate that. And I had two questions for you. Number one is, I know with the counseling, it was through the military, correct? Would you ever consider now going back non-military to talk to somebody that really doesn't have anything to do with that maybe help you with other things?
Nah, because they sent me to civilian people too. Like part of the rules that they had after you were banned, so they sent you to like civilian doctors.
Okay.
And it's, and look, if you want to go to therapists and talk to people, by all means, go to therapists and talk to people. But my general consensus from therapy was they all were, basically, it all boiled down to they always asked me how I felt. I told them how I felt. And then they told me I was justified in feeling that way. Well, I know they're my feelings.
Yeah.
I want to know how to get rid of them. That's what I'm coming to you for.
How long ago was that when you did do therapy?
The last batch?
Yeah.
Let's see, the Army sent me to a psychiatrist the first time in like 90, let's see, after Haiti. So that would have been around 95, 96. And then it's on and off through the years there. And then, right when I moved to Kingsport, they sent me, So I don't mind going to the group so much and talking to other guys.
Yeah.
But the
that's
individual stuff they sent me to, but so
I can see the group being a lot more.
5 years ago.
Okay, cool. I can see the group therapy
guess.
being a lot more beneficial too.
Yeah.
And I guess my second question was, you've been to hell and back with not just your time in the military, but just your family and just all this stuff. This may be a tough question. Can you find a silver lining in all this?
Me?
Yeah. Is there anything that you look back and just say, man, is there just something where?
Yeah, all of it.
All of it. Okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay.
That's like I think I said it sometime on the podcast. It's just like getting blown up. I used to be mad about that.
Right.
That's my fault.
I got you.
I was rolling
Did
the
you see
dice.
it?
I was the one that raised my hand and stayed in. You know, the units I was in, being deployed, was always on the table. So at any point in time, if I wanted to get off that roller coaster, I could have ETS'd out. I didn't have to stay in.
All right.
Or I could have been like some of the dudes do and be like, okay, I'm just not going.
Right.
And got put out.
Yeah.
So
but I mean, outside of the military, I mean, you have, I guess, yes, sir, you had family, and you had, you were remarried, and I guess, yeah, there's some. Anyway, I just want to say it's incredible to hear your story, and I'm just glad I was here to hear it. So.
Oh well, hopefully it helps. So everything that's ever happened to me is my own fault. That was the other thing. I had to stop asking why me and why not somebody else. Because in the grand scheme of things, I've came back a lot better than a lot of fellas did.
Right.
I certainly didn't come back under the flag, though I went through a long period thinking I should have. But I still have all my own parts. They don't work great, but they work. They still work. Obviously, I got a 4-year-old daughter, so they still work. Even though they told me they weren't supposed to. Right.
You done after that one?
After that?
After the 4?
Yeah.
4-year-old?
Yeah. Now we're really fixed. Look, dude.
You modified yourself again.
Yeah, like I say, I hope.
That was the 19th surgery.
I hope she's gay, because I really don't want to have to wring some poor boy's neck because he don't know shit.
I want to be there when you do. I want to like that.
Yeah, because
that teenage boy comes over the house.
It's like I had to tell
see that.
people, or it's like I told Nate. He said I was a big guy. It's not about how old you are or how big you are. It's about what you know.
You know a lot.
But that's just like,
do you want me to read Mackenzie's comment here?
What did she say?
Do you want me to read it?
Sure, go ahead.
Who's Mackenzie?
That's the wife.
I know.
Ooh, little insider information.
No, it was a comment, and then also let's scroll back here. Brian Henson actually commented again, which I appreciate. Brian, I don't recognize your name on the feed. I love. I don't know if you know Brian Henson or not. I don't think you do.
No, I've seen his name once or twice.
That's fantastic. So Mackenzie says he feels it's a quote waste end quote because he fought for our freedoms, and nowadays people waste that and or constantly making our freedoms constrained. But it must be today's lack of self-discipline and lack of ambition.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd like to say that's how we got together. She got tired of people her age.
Yeah. So maybe that's there's another
and,
silver lining. So
well,
Nate's wearing the BS Silver Focus on the Silver Lining T-shirt.
Right.
Is that maybe she'll get to a certain age that she also realizes that she has to go for an older guy.
Hey,
you're probably all for that.
Long as she don't have to change her tire, though she's gonna know how to do it.
I just
You and I talked about that before the podcast too.
Right.
But she's gonna know how to.
Just because
it's like my oldest daughter. I wouldn't let her drive till she changed 4 tires.
But
then once she got a husband, she shouldn't be calling daddy to fix something for her. I should be obsolete.
I agree with that. There's a lot of that out there. I mean, I just reposted something on my Instagram story about that. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but it was in Facebook stories that, this guy came across a woman changing her tire. This is maybe not the most popular opinion these days.
That's actually what I was telling him earlier while you were still inside.
That I posted that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it really impacted me. And I actually judged myself because I think literally that day or the day before, I was coming out of the Apple store and I came out to my car, and there was a couple. They parked right next to me, and I walked up. I was like, "Oh, what? They probably like hit my car or something." 'Cause they're standing out there, right by my car. I'm like, "Oh, geez, what are we dealing with?" And they had a flat tire, and it was a man and a woman, and I said, "You guys have roadside assistance? Like, you guys have like AAA?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're trying to figure it out." And I'm like, "Well, you need help?" Or we're at Easton, where I work, right where Tinder Box at Easton is, and I said, "Well, if you call, we're going to pump it up and we're going to take it over there and we're probably going to get it changed." And I was like, "Okay, well, at least, call Easton Security and they'll come out there and pump it up for you." I said, "I don't have an air pump in my car anymore, or else I'd do it for you." And they were so appreciative of it. And I saw the meme later. Or not the meme, it was a tweet, right? And I thought to myself, I'm like, even I'm slipping. I was like, there's that slippery slope where I think in our current company, if I would have offered to change a tire, now I'm also questioning that guy, right? It's like,
but
all right, so I'm
really
going to
shouldn't
take
be a
care.
question.
It shouldn't be, but it's like I'm pretty sure you have a spare. You probably should have done it. So to your point, it's like you teach her how to change a tire,
Right?
but if there is someone out there, chivalry is not dead. It's just not looked upon the same way as it used to be.
It's on life support.
I can hold my own door.
You teach her how to. You teach him to do it.
You can say all that, and I don't know, but I'm waiting. I need to see. I ain't heard nothing from them, and this is not going to be popular. Look, if a guy says he's a girl, more power to him. That's fine. If a girl says she's a guy, if that's what floats your boat, hey, I'm all for it. But when it comes, to like competing in sports, like Miss Nevada, right? That transgender lady that won Miss Nevada. I just wonder where they're going to show up and be mad because now a man has showed them how to be more beautiful than they are too.
Fair. There's a lot of admiration there, actually. That's shown in popular opinion.
So, I'm just like, I don't get why they're not mad about it.
I think my thing is that, so let's scale it back before we get too far down that rabbit hole. Your daughter is 4 years old, right now, whether it's a guy or a girl and they have a flat tire, she's going to be able to help. But at the same time, right.
But if she chooses to have a man in her life, that's not something she should do.
That's what you want as a parent, for her to choose as a significant other that, you know what, if we both know how to do it, but I want to, like, it's not I want, but it's you want that as a father.
Yeah,
that he's going to be the one that gets dirty. And there's another one.
If she calls, you answer.
Always.
Right.
My point is that so this is the great equalizer. My point is that you teach her how to do it, so that if she is that person coming along, what used to be called damsel in distress, but if a person in distress, doesn't matter.
No,
everything you just said doesn't matter where they are.
I've pulled a lot of dudes out of ditches and stuff.
Exactly. And there should be no judgment
no big
there.
Deal
it's
about
helping
that.
Another person.
But it's not about me pulling dudes out of the ditches. It's just about, it's a weird thing being a father to girls. You're obviously the first man they love. But you really want them to learn you're shooting yourself in your own foot. I should be obsolete once she has a man in her life.
But what I'm saying is that I'm of the opinion that there has become a full circle, in a sense that we've evolved as a society, and you, even as someone that has more of the traditional values and beliefs, and in that is that you also are going to have her change all 4 tires.
Before she can drive, she'll change all 4 tires.
So my point is that you want her to be able to do it,
right?
You also
because if she calls him and he don't come do it,
she's going to dump him. You also don't want her to reject someone helping her.
No,
right? So that's the big thing. It's not this chip on the shoulder thing. I can do it myself. There's a little bit of this traditional that has been lost, and we are getting down the rabbit hole a little bit, but you want to be able to have her do that. You want to teach her how to do that, but there is a little bit of that other feel good side of it is that if she finds a man or finds a significant other, you say you hope that she's gay,
Right.
you know, anyone can change a tire.
Right. Anyone can.
That's the point.
But it's not
right?
the point that anyone can.
Exactly. So there's the independent side of it, but also when you get into the relationship side of it, is that it's not about changing the tire, everyone, in my opinion. It is about the fact that the other person wants to
count on them.
Bingo.
You got to be able to count on that.
Take
that person. And if you
take
can't
out
count
the
on
other
them,
side of
it. No, it's not worth it. Now, don't get me wrong. Look, if a woman does the same job as a man and has all the credentials are the same, she get paid the same. That's a no-brainer, right?
I'm telling you,
everybody's equal. You know, it's one of these weird things. You're equal, but you're not. Just like, you know, I don't think any woman should walk next to traffic.
I know,
if she's with a dude. Yeah.
The guy should
if somebody
always
jumps
be along
the
the curb.
If somebody's going to get hit, I'm the one that should get hit, not her.
It drives me nuts when I see couples walking down the sidewalk.
All right.
Well, I'm just saying.
So what I'm trying to get at is that it's the one with the experience, no matter what the relationship is or whatever the situation is. I look at it as that you want to have a conversation. You want to, know more than I do in this regard, in this arena, whatever it might be. I want to learn from you. So it'd be father, daughter, it'd be whatever. So if I'm dating a girl, right? So if I'm dating a girl, if I'm with someone that actually knows more about whatever it might be, even though the classic gender roles are the man should know more about that. I'm open about it. I'm honest. I've never done this before. You've done this, a house repair, whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
And in your situation, your daughter might be like, yeah, my dad showed me how to do it. That's awesome. I don't necessarily want to walk away from that situation and be like, yeah, take care of it. It's like, I'll help you. Let me help you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
because if you're the dude,
right,
and the car happens to fall off the jack and break her arm,
exactly,
I'm gonna break your arm.
Well, and I would never forgive myself before you break my arm.
I'm just saying, because look,
I'm saying there's an evolution going on with that. Is that it's not about the gender roles necessarily. That is playing a part, but the full, in my opinion, the full evolution or growth there is that whoever knows more in a relationship like that should learn from the other person, so that everyone is growing, everyone is learning, everyone is able to do that. If a guy did not change a tire, yeah, he's not on the top of your list as a father that girl should be with that person. I understand that. But if he says, okay, show me how to do it, because I never had to deal with this before. I was always given AAA. And I'm not even talking about myself, because I don't have AAA. I'm saying, I know how to change a tire. I'm saying that it's, as long as that person is literally looking for their best interest in mind so that they can get better and grow. Even Ray's saying you should take your man card from that person. I get that.
Okay.
I'm saying that this is how it gets better. It gets better if we all learn from each other, no matter what gender you are, no matter what it is. As a father, I don't have any kids, but I get where you're coming from. But I also think that at surface level, you talk the way you talk, whatever. Surface level is that people have an opinion of you. If you're a good person, whether you're a guy or a girl or whatever it is, like you're just talking about, you're in a relationship or you're with someone, you're with a friend, for Christ's sake.
I hope so.
Just in general, though, if you're with a friend and your tire goes flat, you can't assume that everyone had the same upbringing, that you got to change all 4 tires.
Okay. It's not about I'm
not even I'm actually agreeing with you. I'm not objecting.
I get you, Jar. I'm just, maybe I'm an old dinosaur, that's like the lady that told me wanted me to fax her some form that was filled out some years back, on a Saturday. I said, well, you'll have to wait till Monday till I go to work. And it's on the phone now. She's like, you don't have a fax machine at home?
Who does?
Well, now this was back in the day. This was the thing, right? Well, first of all,
no one had a fax machine anymore.
Who did?
Right. Okay.
You don't have a fax machine at work anymore.
Right. So I was like, no, why would I have a fax machine at my house? She's like, well, everybody has a fax now. I said, well, lady, when you make a fax that you can fax me a whiskey on that I can drink, I'll buy one and put it in my house.
I also want to buy that.
But until then, I don't need a fax machine in my house.
What was her response?
she just was like, well,
Dumbfounded.
it's going to take an extra 2 days.
This is before
Well, that's
email?
your day. Yeah, this was before the email fax came along, which didn't take that long. I mean, the fax machine came on, was a big thing, and then was gone like that because email took over. That's just like I posted something. Maybe he saw. There's a telephone in our hotel room.
I saw that picture.
My stepson
I
was
saw
standing
it.
there.
I pay attention to this
was
stuff.
standing there looking at it. He's like, "What is that?" And then what's it for? And I'm looking around like I'm trying to figure out what's he at. What is he asking me?
Didn't know what a
Right?
landline was.
I didn't know what he was talking about. He was talking about the telephone that's plugged in the wall.
Yeah.
I was like, buddy, that's what we had before these things
Yeah,
came along.
We all grew up with one.
Ray says, this is fabulous, guys, but I have to go. I will listen to the end when I return. Lots of love to Ian, Sean Anderson, even though he's an ass.
Right. Appreciate it, Ray. But at least I ain't a Brit ass. So, I'm sorry I didn't get to banter with you tonight. I can't read this thing. My eyes ain't that good.
I got it covered. You
But,
so,
and maybe it's a risk factor. Look, the greatest thing ever put on this planet is women.
yeah.
They can put up with and do things that I can't do as a man.
Absolutely.
So there's
100%.
no reason for me to let them do things that's going to put them in jeopardy of any type. Car falling on them, getting hit by a car, getting shot in combat, any of that. No reason. There's just no reason behind that. Not my opinion.
Okay.
And right, wrong, or indifferent, we're just biologically different. I haven't met a woman yet that could carry what I carried in the first Gulf War. Physically, put it on her back and walk it the 2 clicks we had to walk in the desert. Just that ain't gonna happen.
Okay.
Hell, half the men couldn't do it. That's the only thing I've ever had in my life that once I put it on my back, I had to have help getting up. And then I got
You're
it.
a large male too.
Well, and I got it to where I was going. Now I was skinny back in them days.
You're still tall and large.
Right. But I could run
talking.
10 miles in under an hour.
I'm not talking about your 53-year-old self that,
geez.
you need an extra
Right.
XL on
But
that.
I'm walking bent over, about to die.
Yeah.
I mean, I carried probably 2.5 times my body weight.
I get it. I'm trying to translate this to the audience.
Oh, well, there's probably no translation unless you talk like I talk.
I'm not going to do a fake accent. I'm just
But
probably could. It'll probably turn out Boston.
Steve's got either.
Turns
Yeah,
out
I was
good.
gonna
I
say.
just-
It's the only good one I got.
I don't-
That's it.
Steve has his voice and he's got Southie. That's it. Steve's got his voice and Southie.
My point is what I'm trying to do is make you realize and other people realize is that all these things you're talking about with your daughter, with all of that, is that it doesn't have to. When we talk about equality, about that,
that doesn't change the fact that equality should happen.
my point is that just like the things that you've learned in life from your experiences that you've shared before the podcast, during the podcast, to all these people, you can still take those lessons and make them work for your life.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that
You said it yourself. You would not want anyone really, especially people you care about, to go through the things you've gone through.
no.
Right. That is being translated into your 4-year-old daughter right now. So yes, you have your
probably.
your knowing what I know of you now. It is,
I hope so.
and time will tell.
That it will.
But there's a difference. There's also a similarity or a translating point there, that you going through everything, all the shit that you went through, and your 4-year-old daughter that you keep going back to, that you're like, I hope she's a lesbian or whatever, like that she doesn't have to deal with guys. There's this similarity here, right? There's this connecting point where it's like you want your experience to affect people that you care about, so they, one, don't have to go through it, And if they go through something of whatever caliber of what the trauma is, that they know how to deal with it on their own. And then you introduce the dating part of it, where if they're in a relationship with someone, that they still know what they know, they can do it on their own.
Right.
But there is this humanity to the sense that you can get to this point where if you're with someone else, if you share your ideals of how a relationship should work, is that in your mind, and again, not putting words in your mouth, this is my take on this, is that in your mind, she is still this badass, independent princess.
Oh yeah, she'll probably be able to break your arm off without me.
Absolutely.
Probably won't though, because women are like that. They'll forgive you if they think they love you.
Not all women.
Well,
but my point is
everybody
is that
has a breaking point.
It's got to be this thing where you give them all the knowledge, all the technique, all everything, so they can do it on their own. But as soon as you
well, it's like my
you're
nephew.
in a relationship, that you should be able to rely on the other person.
Yeah, my nephews were just in before I came up here, and one's I think he's 21 now, and the other one's 18, and they were talking about something. Well, it turned around to guns, and banning guns. I'm like, well, we banned crime. That didn't work either.
Yeah.
So what makes you think banning guns will actually work? And so, they were trying to give me their spill on it. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm all for open carry. The only gun that's a dangerous gun is the one you can't see. If it's out in the open, then you already know it's there. It's, it's a given commodity. You know what it is. So I finally had to look at him and tell myself, I'll tell you this way. I said, when I was your age, the cars, the manuals used to tell me how to adjust the valves. Yours tells you not to consume the contents of the battery.
I've seen that. I love it. I love it.
But it's true.
Absolutely.
Look in the owner's manual.
Well, no, I know.
I get the computer chips and all this. The engines are different and yabba yabba yabba. But I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
We had a whole Tide Pod thing going on there for a while there too.
Well, I told him that. I said, and y'all are eating Tide Pods for Christ's sakes. I've done some crazy. I've jumped off the intake structure of a dam on a damn dare. That's like 87 feet over the water in the dark.
Yeah.
Right?
Because during the daytime it'd be cool.
Stupid as hell. Completely stupid. But I know better than to eat a Tide Pod. And I would have known better to eat a Tide Pod when I was 10. I might try to sneak and smoke a cigarette because grown-ups did it. But I'm certainly not going to drink bleach.
There's a sense of rebellion when you know that the adults do it, but there's also a sense of rebellion. There's, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyways.
Really?
Right?
Is there a sense of rebellion in eating a Tide Pod?
If your parents tell you, my point is,
your parents say don't
do it. Society says don't eat a Tide Pod. You're like, fuck you, I can do it. I can
okay.
That's invincibility.
Out of the list of things that you could do, sneak out.
I don't have Tide Pods. I think it's an off-brand.
Well, whatever. Sneak out, sneak a cigarette, sneak into your daddy's liquor cabinet. Any of those things, which I get and fully expect. Makes sense.
I like Mackenzie.
Eat a Tide Pod? That's your choice of rebellion?
It's not mine. I'm saying this is just the way the brain works.
Okay. Well, therein then maybe lies the problem.
Oh, there is a big problem.
We got the brains working. It's like that dude,
brains aren't working. That's the problem.
I served. Well, I had walked in. I had to serve this felony warrant and brought this guy in there, and there was some fella in there was giving one of the jailer people absolute hell, but you could tell he was well educated, and just using big words that she just kept looking up. And, so I brought my dude in, got him over, processing, whatever. And just just walked by. He was still going on. So I looked at her. I'm like, Rittenberry, what's the problem? And she's like, she told me whatever. I went over to get the folder, and the guy's telling me, first of all, he told me, like, you go give me my phone call. I got it right. I said, okay. I said, you've been watching too much TV. No, it's my right. I said, no, that's a privilege. I said, let me tell you something. These people don't want you to be here any longer than they have to. They'll go get you on the phone at some point, but there's a process you have to go through. But it's not a right. You show me in the Constitution where you got a right to a phone call. And he just looked at me like I was, from Mars or some shit. I said, so that's not a right. A right. There's not a right to a phone call. I said, it's just like your Miranda rights. I don't have to read you your Miranda rights when I arrest you. I only have to read your Miranda rights if I'm going to ask you questions about what I arrested you for.
Fair.
Right? So if I'm not going to ask you no questions, I don't have to read you squat. And generally speaking, I'm not going to ask you no questions. Not at that time. So then I don't have to worry about it.
Let's cover your ass thing.
Yeah. So I walked around the counter and said, let me see the folder. So now this is a professor at the college there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he starts talking to me about his degrees and whatnot. And I look, now he's charged with aggravated assault.
Mm-hmm.
Tried to hit somebody with his car, road rage, right? And a couple other big boy crimes. So first off, in the state of Georgia, you ain't getting a bond till you see a judge.
Okay.
Right? So I'm looking through there and I'm like, he kept talking. I said, well, I'm sorry, bud, but I graduated magna cum laude from the College of Common Sense. I know when to shut the fuck up. Maybe you ought to be quiet and let this lady do her job. And then I'm looking through the folder and saw the charges and just set the folder down. I went over and picked him up by his arm and took him to a cell and shut the door. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, he can join the 7 o'clock club. She's like, what are you talking about? I was like, you don't have to get him processed. She's like, you're going to give me my phone call. I said, buddy, they charged you with aggravated assault. You ain't going nowhere till you see a judge in the morning. So just shut up. And walked on out.
Well, you knew the laws. You knew the laws.
Yeah, it's just,
you knew the laws.
You
You knew
educated.
TV.
well, hey.
I'm just saying you're
Just,
educated, right?
Right. So, you're not, but it don't matter if you call somebody or not. You ain't going nowhere.
Right.
So you'll get on the phone when you can get out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're their headache till about 9, 10 o'clock in the morning when the judge decides whether or not he's going to give you bail.
Sean, I want to ask you, as we can go on for a long time on this one. But if I were to ask you your closing remarks based on all of this, the counseling didn't do much for you. You took it upon yourself.
Well,
No, hang on. Let me finish.
At least it put me on the road, maybe.
That's new information, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to do
So
what they said doing, and I was like, wasn't really doing much. So then I was like, I just sort of thought, well, okay, let me
And
try
you've
like
also
this.
said that you, other than in the military, you don't like people telling you what to do.
What, does anybody?
No.
But everybody answers to somebody.
I agree. So you took it upon yourself to take that and you addressed your demons. You addressed the history of your life, and you have, with other life circumstances like your 4-year-old daughter that you did not see coming.
Right.
But in the process, as you talk about, trust the process, right?
Yeah.
All of that, you got to that point where you sat there by yourself and you addressed your demons. You let them take a hold of you for a second, and then you reflected on that. So in your closing remarks, what I ask of you, because I think there's a wealth of knowledge from your personal history to the people out there that have not. You say you don't want anyone to go through what you went through. Rightfully so. Anyone going through struggles, whether it's now, in the past, or coming up in the future, when you come up with an obstacle in life, whether it be a new venture, I got more of them on there, and like I said, we can go on forever. You can do a part 3 if you want to. I got nothing to do tonight.
Well, there are 3 bottles.
I gotta let my dog out here.
Well, let him out. I like Tony.
Tony's a badass.
Pretty dog.
What was that?
I'm just sitting there going, he's got to drive almost as far as I do. I'm like, yeah, we can keep talking. I'm going to quit drinking.
I got a couch.
Well, that's fine.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, there's other ways to get where I need to go.
What I'm saying is that what I'm asking is Sean, you're here. Hopefully you come back in the area and your family comes back. We can have a cookout or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, you're part of the community now. And
Oh,
there was
yeah.
an importance
That's-
there for you as well. But with all of this, is in your closing remarks, based on your life history, what you've learned, what you see going forward, and I already see is that a lot of your decisions going forward are based on not only your past, but really based on how you want to live your life and actually frame your life for your 4-year-old daughter. So to all the people out there listening, when it comes down to it, it's like, what remarks do you want to have for them that didn't go through your life experiences on how they can actually take that? We went down a couple of rabbit holes there, a little bit of like, what's going on right now, but in the current state we're in, what do you want to say to the people out there now you have a microphone in front of your face?
That's a loaded question.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
Every
once in a while I can host a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's no one right way, right, to live life. Now, some things are pretty simple and cut and dry. You do it this way, you're good. You do it that way, it ain't gonna work. Like changing the oil, right? You can't change it if you don't get the plug out of the oil.
You got to learn though.
Well, yeah, you got to learn. But the thing that I tell myself at like 3:30, 4 in the morning, when I can't sleep, and it's all that is, I just have to remind myself that the clock only turns one way.
Okay.
And if I could turn it back and change all that, there's no guarantee that it'd be beneficial. It might make my life better, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make the people around me lives better. Doesn't mean that it was going to change anything that happened.
Yeah.
Because of it. And it's, it's a process. Living is a process. You might not think it is, but it's a process. There's a decision, right? Are you going to get off the porch and go do something? Or are you going to sit on the porch and watch life pass you by? If I had waited around for something that was familiar, like building houses with my father, I wouldn't have done all the things I did. And right, wrong, or indifferent, good and bad, they all made up the ride. And it's like the big badass roller coaster at the amusement park. Do you want to be able to tell people you rode it? Or do you want to be able to tell people that, oh, well, I didn't want to risk it. It was, new territory. But life is going to be like that. There's going to be lots of ups, lots of downs, lots of twists and turns. It's going to turn your stomach sometimes. It's going to make you feel like you want to hurl, and it's going to make you feel like you want to get off. But if you just ride it to the end, where that, your friends can respect you, your family love you, and then, as long as you wasn't a complete asshole to everybody else, then it was all pretty good.
And all your experiences that you've shared with us tonight, that your life's pretty fucking good right now.
Oh, I'm a lucky bastard.
Topic tonight was better be good than lucky, but when we were debating that, I think and maybe your tongue slipped. Maybe your tongue slipped. But what I heard first, maybe I wasn't listening. I was doing other things. But better be lucky than good sometimes is that you can be lucky a couple times that really frame the rest of it, but you gotta strive to be good.
Right. It's like my son that won the College World Series.
I'm sorry, don't glaze over that.
Don't glaze over that?
Yeah.
Oh, well, if you walk up to him and say bigger, faster, stronger, he will lose his shit.
It's a good documentary though.
I don't know about a documentary.
It was a good album. It was a good album.
I've been telling him that since he was 9 years old. So he was lucky in that he was blessed with some athletic skill. But like I had to tell him, hard work will beat lazy talent any day of the week. And until he fell in love with the process, he wasn't going to succeed. And now this, and like the reason I like the podcast, like Jonathan sent me the thing, said, watch this. It'll remind you of the shop.
Is that how you started listening to it?
Yeah. So I
How you
got
know
on
Jonathan?
when Jonathan was on there, because like or my buddy Jerry down at the, you know, raging liberal college professor. If you'd have said, hey, him and Sean are friends, the people would be like, you're full of shit. But I
Right.
can't tell you the number of times it's just me and him in the corner talking about stuff. And we agreed on a lot of things. We just disagreed on how we were supposed to get there.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is fine. That's the other thing I think
how you
people
learn. That's how you learn.
have lost. It's all right for somebody to tell you disagree with you. But the problem is when you start talking in the world of opinions and people it becomes like people make it like it's a personal attack.
Always.
People can tell me I'm wrong. That doesn't mean that I agree with them or that they're right. I'll listen, and then I may or may not change my mind. But given what I've gone through, generally I don't change my mind. But that's not always the case. I've changed my mind before.
You probably will again.
Yeah. See, she tells me that all the time.
I put that up for other people, not you.
Oh well, yeah.
Mackenzie says all of
I-
life's
you know.
experiences build us as humans in every aspect. Don't fret on the past. Focus on the future and how good you make it.
Right. So that, you know, I can't say that no better. So I'll just let that go.
John
Anyway.
Daly, who's now tuning in every week again. I appreciate John, you out there on the East Coast saying talking like adults is missing in most people.
Right. But anyway,
You and John get along real well, I think.
so, you know, I told the people in the cigar shop that, you know, Bobby would play Division I baseball and you'd probably see him in the College World Series. But it was some work to convince him that if he was going to make it, it was on his right arm, not with a bat.
What position? Pitcher?
Pitcher.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I went through a long period of time trying to teach him not to overthrow. Right. A little bit of movement on a baseball was better than velocity. Because if you throw it at me at 107 miles an hour, if it's dead straight, sooner or later I'm gonna figure out how to catch up to it and kill it.
Yeah. Put a bat on a ball.
But if it's coming at me at 94 miles an hour and moves 4 inches, that's a different story.
Fucked.
But you know, and then when he won it, you know, I had all these people patting me on the back, talking about look at all the work he did. I didn't do none of the work. That kid did. That's his work. He did that.
Yeah.
I just helped him with the process. I taught him to love the process.
Yeah.
And so they went out to Omaha, beat Arizona 2 out of 3.
Where do you go to school?
Coastal Carolina. Won the College World Series in 2016.
Had a good football run recently.
Asked Jonathan Herron. I told him that would happen when the kid was still an 11th grader in high school.
You met Jonathan Herron down at UGA area.
Oh yeah, he was.
Full
He was,
circle. I got it
he
now.
was something else back in them days, boy.
He's
But I
still-
like Jonathan too.
I do too.
He's still something else. You know, me and him ain't quite alike, but I like him a lot. He's a good dude. But all him winning the College World Series really meant was I spent a lot of hours sitting on a 5-gallon bucket.
So what do you have to say to those people out there that where they're going to take your story
I don't know. Like I
in
said,
their
just
everyday life? Everyday
you
life.
know,
All right, give me an
life
example.
life is
All right,
life
no.
is a process. That's
Let
just like coming up here, right? I have family up here, but this isn't about my family up here, whether I've seen them recently or not. This was about my family. So there's a process. This is the only night off I'm taking from them. The rest of the time is for them.
Yeah.
It's the process.
Well, and your family, like Mackenzie, your wife,
Right.
she's sitting here listening to us tonight.
Yeah, it's got to be kind of odd.
A few dudes in
No,
the
she
garage
supports you.
listening. She's like, "Oh, this is what you listen to every week. You better not say anything bad."
Nah.
I got a wife that listens to this all the time and texts me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're good. So yeah, just remember the clock only turns one way,
All right.
and when the sun comes up tomorrow, that's a new day. You can make something good out of it, or you can let the demons keep making it bad. I just learned to, I let the demons have the night, They do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
I let it run through my head. Sometimes that lasts a long time, and then there's other times I go. Well, here lately, there's times I go 2 or 3 weeks, don't have a problem, and then some sound or smell will trigger it, and I'll go through 2 or 3 weeks where I can't sleep. You just, there's pictures in your head that just won't go away, and that was, and this is really the thing that the thing that in therapy that made me change it was, they kept telling me that you got to let it go. Let it go. It's over. Let it go. Let it go. And I kept thinking to myself, well, fuck, if I could let it go, don't you think I would?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like I want to sit around and think about this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about it when it shows up.
Why are you here tonight?
Here tonight?
Yeah, why are you here tonight?
Well, it certainly wasn't to talk about all this so much as I just, I'd been listening and enjoyed it. I think that this is a lost art. Men should get together and talk. Women should get together and talk. And at some point in time, they all should get together and talk. But you still should talk. So, my granddaddy used to take me to the barber shop, and it wasn't about getting a haircut. That was like a 5-hour Saturday, and all the men sat around there, even after their hair was cut. And they talked about who was growing the best corn, who was making the best whiskey, who had the best garden, what was going on, politics, and all this stuff. And they just all hung out there and talked. And that's what we tried to have in the cigar shop in Athens. And the people that would come in there and hang out would do that, And, Jonathan tell you, I was a designated asshole. The people that disrupted that, I was the one that was like, hey, dude, you need to go over there and smoke. Listen for a while first, and then you can start talking. Because you're not moving the conversation in the direction we wanted to go.
Yeah.
Because there's always, don't be a naysayer. There's enough. Stop. No. Don't. Can't. That's like my stepson now. I tell him all the time. I say, go do this. I can't. Take that out of your vocabulary. Don't ever say I can't. Say I'll try. If you fail, it's all right. I have failed more times in my life than I have ever succeeded.
Oh, you
and
shared that tonight.
I have, and the flip side of that is, hell, I've succeeded a lot. I played collegiate sports, got beautiful children. They're all smart. Had the hiccup with my son and my granddaughter.
Don't call it that.
I
please.
don't. Well,
It's not.
Well, it was just shitty. Nobody,
Do you look at it as,
nobody should do that.
Do you look at it as a tragedy that was an opportunity?
No.
Or just tragedy?
No, that's one that'll never. That's one that'll never change. That's just
tragedy.
That's a waste. That is a waste.
Yeah.
They never had a chance to get going.
Yeah.
Especially her.
No.
But at 24, 25, you think you know a lot. It's like I was telling you. I had this thing, I don't ever recall my father telling me he loved me. Ever. Till I was going to war for the first time and we got to call home. And like I say, he said, well, I've always loved you, right? That was it.
Yeah.
Not I love you then. It's just, I've always loved you.
Old school dad.
Right. And I like most boys do, hated my father. I played every sport in the book, so I didn't have to go to work with him.
Do you respect him?
Oh well, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Belts hurt.
Not because of that, because you kept getting belts, you kept getting switches, you kept getting
but like I said,
you kept making your choices as a kid.
I was mid-20s, probably about the age of my son when he passed away, maybe a little older, but somewhere in that ballpark when it finally dawned on me. Like I say, I was up one morning at 3:30 shaving, and
I shared that before the podcast.
Yeah, I shaved half my face, and then I don't know how much time passed, but I just stopped. And then the next thought I had was, be damn, that motherfucker was right. And some of it, yeah, some of it you just got to learn from living.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
you know, I can't tell you you're not gonna have heartbreak. Like
You will.
relationships,
I'll tell you
you're gonna
right
have
now,
you're
you
gonna
will.
have somebody break your heart.
Yeah.
It's just gonna happen. And there's, you know, it's like with my daughter, it's probably gonna happen. I'm not gonna be able to stop it, and I ain't gonna be able to change it. But if I can get it to where she at least realizes that, okay, this a pass,
Yeah.
right?
And to be open.
Yeah. It's all right to hurt.
It is.
It's all right to hurt and feel bad. But the thing is you can't hurt and feel bad every day for the rest of your life.
Right. Right.
Let it run its course, be what it's going to be, and then, you know, go on and do something great.
Embrace your demons.
Right. Because, you know, nobody knows when the next great thing's going to walk through the door. Because trust me, happened to me, I wasn't planning on being married again.
Oh.
I
think I like Mackenzie more than you, actually, based on what she's saying. I mean,
I don't blame you. Because look, to be
no
honest,
one does probably know you guys better. Like they still probably can't figure it out.
Yeah, my father's health wasn't that great. My sister and I went home for Christmas. My sister and mother had me convinced my father was going to expire in a year. So when I retired and wound up single, I was actually moving to Thailand.
Glad you moved to Kentucky, aren't you?
Tennessee, but yeah.
Tennessee.
Yeah. And so, you know, I could have went to Thailand and lived Trump rich. But, you know, the cards happened, whatever. And if any of that happened, I wouldn't have met her, wouldn't have had my daughter.
Yeah.
You know, so
two peas in a pod.
Well, but see,
no,
it was all for a reason. So I don't know that I would go back.
And you could have had a good life in Thailand. Yeah, you're right.
I'd have had a great life in Thailand.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've been to Thailand. I'd have had a great life in Thailand. It'd been a lot of fun.
What I know about her commenting tonight, that's a good thing for you.
Yeah,
she's got your back.
Yeah, she's kind of an old soul.
Yeah.
Young body, but old soul.
Well, that's a good combo, and she also keeps you in check.
I ain't complaining. I got no complaints.
Yeah, there you go. Nate, how about you? Closing remarks.
So,
and that's tough to beat.
I know we didn't dwell on necessarily the exact topic much. I think we should save this topic for another episode. We didn't talk a whole lot about the difference between being good versus lucky.
Right.
Definitely a topic we should touch on in the future. Maybe when we do talk about it, whoever our guest is that week, Ian will still be commenting and talking about that.
He might be in the garage.
But this was an absolutely fantastic interview. And really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. And I know our listeners do as well, especially from some of the comments and the feedback that we've gotten already. You know, thank you for opening up and sharing your story, because there's a lot of people that learn something from it.
Right. Next time I come, don't have Ann on the week before me.
I can't promise it. I'll probably have you both on. How about that?
Only if she makes them Jello shots.
Well, you got to bring the bottle.
And
I got a bottle.
We'll do Jello shots at Pappy 23, and we'll be drinking Watershed.
I'll tell you this. Ann may have brought 7 bottles of liquor, whiskey, whatever, but you brought a story, which is amazing.
She brought a story too, but she's talking about
the
she works, and you know she has that sort of thing. And
the biggest thing that you said that truly stuck out to me was you can fail, but you can't quit.
Yeah, no.
Because if you quit, you're giving up. You know, you're just saying, nope, I can't do this. This is above me. I give up. You're quitting not only on whoever you're working for, or whoever trying to do that for. You're quitting on yourself as well. It's okay to fail.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you tried, as long as you did the best you could.
Yep.
It's okay to fail as long as you try.
If you
just
gave it
don't
your
quit.
best honest effort,
Absolutely.
failing is quite all right.
Yeah, and we've all had failures in our lives. I know I always look back at in my professional career something I failed at, but what you brought in
Pour it out.
perspective, I may have failed in that endeavor, but I didn't quit. I still tried. I still did the best that I could, but I didn't quit. And so there's a lot of times when I look back at that particular endeavor and I view it only as negatively because I failed at it. I didn't succeed. I'm not still doing that. I didn't do it as long as I wanted to do it. But what you brought is made me actually sit there and think, like, at least I tried.
Yeah.
I didn't quit.
But you never.
At least I put
You never hit it.
everything I could into that, and I didn't give up. I tried to do the absolute best I could. It didn't work out, but at least I tried. I didn't quit. So a lot of times when I look at that, I tend to hold my head down. But hearing you say that and talk about your story, I can look back at that and actually hold my head up high because I fucking tried. I didn't quit.
You'll never hit a shot you don't take.
Absolutely. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Right.
Michael Scott and Gretzky. Office is an office quote.
No, I got it. I got it.
Yeah, you're silent.
Oh, who? I missed that one. Sorry. But yeah, you know, if you know, it's you know, I thought back to, you know, my son wanting to ask a girl out. I'm just ask her out. Well, what if she says no? Well, what if she does? I said, better yet, what if she says yes?
There you go. Absolutely.
And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, if you don't ask her, you'll never know.
If you don't ask, the answer is no. If you do ask, there
Yeah.
may be a yes in there.
And you know, just like I say, I had to get rid of things like can't, don't. I mean, that was way back. You know, I stopped thinking like, you know, the brain don't work in negatives.
It does very well, actually.
Well,
it really, really does. It is a self-breeding type of mentality and environment.
Self-doubt
Absolutely.
works, but the brain don't work in negatives. But that conscious part of you starts quite, you know, like what ifs, like, you know, regrets will just drive you batty. Trust me, I know. I had regretted everything I'd ever done, and just had to stop and say, okay, well, that's what it was. That's what happened. So, you know, what do I got to do to be here for the people that need me?
Right.
But I was kind of lucky. I had people that needed me. I don't know if you're out there floundering on your own, but, you know, find something, find some people. You'd be surprised, folks that need you. And you'll find them in the damnedest places. I found a lot in the cigar shops.
When I started taking my old man walks, it was after a very, very impactful breakup. You can't change the past. We all wish we could. In a lot of situations, we wish we could. You know what I mean? There is a saying there that if I knew then what I know now, I would have done things differently. But he did.
Wouldn't have the story.
Wouldn't have the story. And there's also a story about, you know,
and still might not have the girl.
That's for sure. Rising as a phoenix, right? You know, that's another like age-old thing.
Ashes, yeah.
Yeah, through the ashes. You know, I say Ian. Sean.
It's all right.
That's all right. So Sean being on here tonight and sharing these bottles, it's been fantastic, and I know a lot of you guys out there have faded away on the live views. I hope you guys tune back in and you listen to this, because the closing remarks from Sean and Nate are very impactful. But the biggest thing tonight on part 2 was really Sean's story. I learned a lot tonight. I hope you guys did too. Listening to the story, there's a lot of hope.
Yep.
There's
Next time
also-
you pass that lady on the path, just say hello with a smile.
I
And if
do
she don't
every
say hello back,
I do every time. I
she's the one missing out.
I understand that. My point is that listening to your story, your life, and everything else, there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of these factors that are there to say that if you go through your third party counseling, but then you take it into first party counseling. I've gone through marriage counseling. I've gone through some of that stuff, and when you rely on other people, it's not as sincere as if you really embrace it.
Yeah, make it malleable. Adapt it.
To me, to your point right there, life's going to go on. So I look at it as that you have to take care of yourself before you take care of other people. Like that, we've said that before on the podcast. You always have to take care of yourself before you take care of other people. Doing this podcast tonight, there is a new fire again under myself, is that I realize that I need to take care of myself so that I can be the best identity and best person of myself for me first, and then it impacts other people. I also look at it as that, like, the fact that Sean's in the garage tonight from Tennessee sharing his story is because I put myself out there. We as a podcast, as a community and everything else, this didn't exist. But as soon as you put yourself out there, your honest self of what you want to happen, you have that vision, you have that, with you, Sean, with your family, you keep harping in a good way on your 4-year-old daughter that this is your light. Not light at the end of the tunnel. It's a light that has recentered you, refocused you as a man, as a person. I look at this as that this is always something that you don't know who you're going to impact as far as the influence. You know where you're pointed, but if you open yourself out there, you open yourself to really be open in your emotions, your feelings, and everything else. Like, better to be good. Better be good than lucky. Take the lucky.
Oh yeah, don't snub the lucky.
Because when you're the thing is that I think they are hand in hand sometimes.
Well, true.
You think you're doing yourself right, you're doing the righteous thing, and nothing is working out for you. Yeah, you're in quicksand.
Yeah.
But if you stop doing that, it's a matter of time before you start hearing back from people that you doing what you're doing, whether it be your personal life, your interactions with people in real life, which is rarer these days. But even if you use social media or just some sort of influence on people, you're going to impact people in a good way. And use that as motivation. If you use it as motivation, sometimes you can't rely on yourself all the time because you are your biggest critic. But if you use that and you just hold yourself accountable, you keep doing it, you keep putting yourself out there, you're going to get that validation. And the validation is not just for your sake, your confidence, your well-being. You did it for a reason. That there are people out there that are also going through similar things. They have gone through it, or they will go through it. I love hearing this story tonight because I don't plan on going through a terrible situation overseas like you did. You know, at this point, I think
I
I'm
can't say
smart.
that I blame you.
I think at this point, I can say I'm smart.
You're
Right.
too old for them to take you.
Hell, given the state of it now, I don't
They'd
know.
probably take me. You open yourself out there to your world, your people, everything else, the surrounding circles. What I love about this is that I am sitting next to a good friend and also a new friend that if I never worked on this and kept this thing going, tonight's episode would have never happened and you guys would never heard this story. I have my own story and you've heard it many times and it's never ending. It's going to continue on and everything else. Having Sean on this episode, that's something that I can never translate to any of you viewers or listeners out there. This is a very unique, a very impactful viewpoint and history that it needs to be heard. My closing remarks is simply keep striving to do the next best thing
Keep working the process.
and trust the process.
Right. Because whatever version of you happen to be on, 2.0, 3.8, whatever it is, that's the version it's meant to be.
Absolutely. I love that about this. We share whiskey, we share cigars, we do all this stuff, but the biggest thing about this podcast is as it was designed is simply you smoke a cigar, you drink some whiskey, and then you talk about life. And tonight was exactly what I expected. Is that pour something in your glass so we can cheers.
Right. Well, I was going to say it was getting there, but just one alibi. I will say.
Every time
Well,
I do closing remarks,
yeah.
people, you gotta get into it.
However long I've been listening to y'all, I thought it was like 6-7 months, but whatever it's been, you know, if I hadn't been listening to y'all all that time, I sat here and talked about any of this.
You'd never do it.
No, never do it.
So that's the lesson for everyone out there: is that whether or not you come in the garage, you give your story, but this is the encouragement out there for everyone else: is that this is something that this is a reminder to be open, because whether you're succeeding, you're struggling. The topic tonight was to be good other than lucky. Embrace both. Because sometimes you can be good, you can be good, and you're still beat up. But it is that what you consider lucky, it's not really lucky. It's the fact that you've been good.
Yeah.
And it finally hit the right people around you. Whether it be your now wife, whether it be your job, whether it be anything else, it's simply the fact that you are being yourself.
Right.
And you are pushing yourself to be that good person. That now all the surrounding factors, the universe, the world, whatever you want to say, it'll recognize that. You stay true to yourself, and it'll be good to you.
Yeah. Or there's a rainbow everywhere.
There's a rainbow everywhere.
Yeah. Gotta have a little rain to get it, but there's a rainbow everywhere.
I like that. Guys, cheers.
Cheers.
Happy
Cheers.
Whiskey
Enjoy it.
Wednesday. Sean, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I hope y'all
Absolutely.
enjoy.
That's great. I'm gonna take care of that.
Your mouse died.
Have you ever heard of a therapy called EMDR?
EMDR.
I'm gonna message you. My wife's a therapist. She's a counselor, so she's
Oh.
listening